our priorities wrong.
Yeah.
There's a couple of blue zones.
Yeah.
Welcome back, or welcome. If this is your first time visiting, I'm sorry. You should definitely check out our prior segments because we have some pretty good talks. My name's Tina Hurley. I'm the founder and director of Less Leg, More Heart, a charity that helps amputees, and appropriately named Less Leg, More Heart. I would love for you to look at more information about what we're doing in the community and also to check out some of the upcoming fun campaigns that we have. We're right now raising money to send amputees to an amazing conference down in Orlando. That's a big educational opportunity for them that they otherwise couldn't afford, and also to give running blades to amputees in need that otherwise wouldn't be able to have that mobility. More than just running, just having an active lifestyle. So if that's something that resonates with you, please check out our website, lesslegmoreheart.com, and share our information so we can hopefully improve funding for those ventures for amputees. But this platform is where we bring fun stories, educational pieces, inspiration, and also health and wellness experts to your comfort of your own home. And we have an amazing woman, Anne Bordeleau, and she is a medium. She's a licensed massage therapist. She's an energy clearer and an alignment expert. And please refer back to a prior segment that we did where we talk all about kind of the 101 class on energy and spirits and the different energy fields that we have and sort of the basic concepts that may be interesting for you to learn. And today I really want to talk about spirits in the sense of geographical location. So Anne, thank you so much for coming back, and I really appreciate your time and your knowledge. Could you talk to us about when someone passes, why or where they stay or why they stay certain places, where they tend to congregate, and what about that creates challenges for special populations or challenges for people that are inhabiting that space?
Yep, sure. So sometimes, like for instance, because I know that you have a poltergeist story that you want to share.
You guys aren't going to want to miss that. It's a good one. Yes.
So sometimes, it could be like a spirit, like somebody has like lived in this home like their entire life, and they pass and they just want to stay. Other times it could be that maybe spirits have, like maybe on a battlefield, that there's been a number of spirits or a number of people that have passed and they didn't realize that they were dead, and so they're just kind of like lost and they're hanging out in the last space that they were in human form. And then there's a number of different reasons why spirits kind of like stay where they are. But the biggest thing to know is that spirits are energy. So because everything is energy, it's kind of like draining. So everything is vibrating on different levels. And so spirits are at a different level than human. And in order for them to kind of like hang around, then they're going to start like almost like a vampire, like sucking off the person's energy in order to be able to stick around and do what they want. So they really need to, it's really best for them to be able to go into the light and transform to what they're supposed to be for their next life or in their spirit world. And then a lot of them don't even realize that they have a better vantage point, and they can if it's loved ones that they want to be with, then they can actually help their loved ones more by being in the light than actually staying like in a home or trapped in the land or something.
Well, let me tell you a story.
Yes.
And then you tell me what you think about this story.
Okay.
And you guys tell me what you think about this story, because I still don't even know what I think about this story. So there I was, a young physician assistant, life by the horns, physically active, making money, new car. I was like living the dream my parents always wanted for me, right? And and I'd moved into an apartment in Manchester, New Hampshire, because it was near the hospital that I was working at, Western clinician, very logical and analytical and scientifically trained. And all of a sudden, this new apartment, which was very cheap in terms of rent, by the way, played into the story later down the road, it had a scary basement, right? And I watched a lot of horror shows when I was a kid. I did see Stephen King's It when I was too young, and now I could never face away from drains in a shower. True story.
Yeah.
So a little imagination, but I thought that had kind of gone away after I'd, practiced medicine and all that. But I didn't think I had much of that left. So here I am going down 2 flights of stairs to do the first load of laundry in this new apartment. and it was like a coin-operated, renovated room in an otherwise completely unfinished basement that looked like what was from the 1800s, and it was pretty original parts, It was, and everything was dark. There was no lighting except for like from the bottom of the stairs with like that weird, one light bulb sort of swinging, and like you see in the movies, and then you could like hop into the all of a sudden drywalled fresh room and like sort of heavy breathe. And so I was like putting the coins in the coin operated washer, and I was standing there and I just felt uneasy. And lots of reasons why, right? You went down creepy stairs, you're in a creepy basement, whatever. But I could not get the feeling out of my chest that I was being watched. Like the feeling when you walk into a room or like a church late or, a mess hall and you drop a, platter and everyone stares, there's a feeling that comes with.
Yes.
And I felt that feeling. And I was just like putting clothes in the laundry. And but it was not like a friendly look. It was like I needed to get out. I felt really uncomfortable, really uneasy, scared even, like my pulse was quickening. I like hastily threw my laundry in, and I remember bolting up the stairs when I had the capacity to run good. I ran up the stairs really fast. And then I was like, Tina, you're being crazy. It's a basement. You got to get the clothes from the washer and the dryer or they're going to mold. So you have to go back down. And it so happened that my roommate had used too many appliances in an outlet and a fuse broke.
Oh,
so she came over to me and she said, hey, Tina, do you mind coming down to the fuse box because it's really creepy down there and I don't want to go alone. So she also, separately, without having prior discussion, felt really uncomfortable in the basement. So I'm like, sure, I'll go down with you because I have to get my laundry before it molds. So we go down the stairs together, sort of hunched together with a flashlight, two like young, professional, educated women just cowering into this basement. And I get the laundry into the dryer and we both sort of creep down because there's no lighting except for our flashlight. And this is a real story. Like, I'm amazed by it, and I'm sure you won't be because this is your world, but I walk, it's like a tight sort of hallway, and then it opens up to the big back room that has all the, water tanks and all the things, but there's this room to the left, and cobwebs, like the space had not been explored on the left. And so there's this double deadbolt, old 1800s, heavy duty, like push through door. And pushed it through. There's cobwebs. There's 2 rows of shelving, like sort of mid-eye height, and it got freezing. So normal temperature of a basement, which is generally a little colder, her and I walk through the threshold of this door and like freezing cold, goosebumps, like shivering, and she and I both looked at each other like, there's no fuse box in here. This is like really uncomfortable. We left, we went into the main room, like running, like we're really not, that we had that look, everyone's looking at us, we're cold, we sense something's off. We run to the fuse box, we touch all the buttons, we hope that works, and we run back up the stairs. And then we like shut and lock the door, and we literally sit against the wall, like chest heaving. Like we were unnerved. So I boycotted doing laundry from that point forward. And thankfully at the time I had a boyfriend who I roped into going to get the laundry out of the dryer for me because I would not at that point go back into the basement. Ironically, I had a dog that I'd just gotten, and like brand new dog. And was fine previous to this time when I came up. And then after that time that I went in the room, which I know to some people might sound nuts, but you know that there's something to this. Started acting very, very strange. Like we'd walk in the door and the dog would cower and like look up to where the wall met the ceiling. And start like making snarling noises and backing up in fear as if it was being approached by a bear. Like some weird stuff, and electrical glitches all of a sudden started in the house, and that weren't there presently, like within a few days span. And I started getting the feeling of being looked at while I was in my room again. And again, I'm like hyperactive imagination. I'm, we can will anything to be in our minds, right? So I'm like, I am just really getting out of control with this. So I went for a walk with my dog the next day, and I had neighbors that had lived there for a very long time, and they had a dog, and so it broke the ice because my dog went up to the fence with their dog, and I'm like, hey, hey, guys, you notice anything super weird paranormal next door ever? They're like, actually, and they looked at each other first before they said something, so I knew they were like restraining.
Because they didn't want to freak you out.
They knew why my rent was cheap, yep.
Yeah.
So they looked at each other, and they looked over at me, and they went, you should Google Lucy Hastings Hospital. And I went, what? They went, your apartment, I lived at 1038 Union Street, y'all can Google it, in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
My apartment, the house, the floor that we're on, it was Lucy Hastings Hospital, which was the original hospital before Elliott Hospital was built in this area of the world. And when you look at the original photos, which are on Google, the bedroom that I was staying in on the second floor was the room that had the surgery chair.
Oh, yeah.
And the room then in the basement that we went through with the creepy heavy door must have been the morgue.
The morgue. Yeah.
Right? So I'm finding all of this out after the fact, right?
Yeah.
Needless to say, I literally bought a house. Like, I looked for houses and within 3 months had bought a house to get out of there.
Yeah.
And like never did laundry in the basement again, hardly ever stayed home again. Buddy system in the house, aside from showers. So like it was that alarming, but it happened.
Yeah.
Like I have a personal experience with, I believe, a haunted house.
Yes.
And until that experience happened to me, I never would have believed it. I never, because again, you have to like experience stuff for it to kind of open your eyes. Still don't really know what it means, but I have someone close to me that is more familiar with this world than I am. And she had said to me, before you leave, you need to make sure it doesn't follow you.
Yes.
And because it doesn't sound like a good one.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what that means. I'm busy. I'm pulling 12-hour shifts at the hospital. And so I never looked into it. I later got divorced and lost a leg. So I guess after the fact, was it related? Not to poke fun at a very significant field of research and study that you do.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that? And what could it have been? And what could I have done? And just like based on the backing of that story, what do you feel about all that?
Definitely, especially the cold feeling, that is definitely a sure sign of a negative spirit. And they could be negative for whatever reason. It could be, so you said that in the pictures they had like the surgical chair. So they could have been done like experiments done on those people. And maybe that particular, it could have been the doctor. It could have been one of the patients. And so that, having those types of spirits, the nasty ones, it could entail more negotiation, let's just say.
Very good way to put it.
Because there's some other ones that it's like, okay, they know that they need to get into the light, and I know people that use like sage and the feather and the whole like oyster shell and whatever, and they can clear out the energy in a home. For what you're referring to, it's like, try and do that and they'll just be like, yeah, okay, go ahead. Give it your best shot, because I'm still staying. I'm not leaving.
Seems like they dug their heels in since the 1800s. So yeah, they must have been. So what is it? Is that traditionally what people see as exorcism? Or
it would be, it would be more of like an exorcism.
Wow.
And depending on the situation. So like my friend Lois has experience with the spirits of Amoskeag, which are in the Manchester Mills buildings. So there were a lot of children that were working slave labor in those mills, and if they got hurt, instead of sending them to be well, then the children all of a sudden disappeared, and then their families were told that they had run away, so that they didn't have to pay the families the back pay that was owed to them, and so forth. Wow. So there's a lot of like sinister things, and then like the human trafficking and human sacrifice and stuff like that. Those are just some of like the real like kind of like nasty things that kind of happen.
And they can follow you places.
Yeah, they can attach and they can follow. So depends on how much they like you and what they need from you.
I'm a likable gal. I know. Maybe they wanted my leg. Do you think they have it? Because it was thrown in the morgue too.
Oh.
Well, they win. So when we talk about geographic location of people passing, as you just mentioned,
Yeah.
and we've talked about your aspirations to have a mobile massage clinic essentially for veterans, because that's a dear subject in your heart.
Yeah.
That special focus also has specific challenges, or how does geography play into that special population of veterans in terms of the passing of spirits?
Yeah, so especially like different areas, like a lot of the younger vets that I'm working with right now were in like Afghanistan and so forth. And so when you have areas like that that are very like war torn and a lot of different things going on, then there's like I had mentioned this earlier about people like passing and not even realizing that they're dead, kind of a thing. So there's if a spirit decides that they like you and they want to attach, then if they had any kind of physical ailments, then you're going to end up taking those on as well. And so it's also like thought processes and patterns and stuff like that that they had. You may feel like they're yours, but they're really not. And so that could be, and I'm just going to put it out there. I'm not saying that there's medical studies I haven't researched them, but just in my personal expertise and experience is that could be like a big contributing factor to PTSD, because it's like you're seeing like all of this stuff happening, and now you have all of this energy that's around you, and possibly now spirits that have attached, and so you have like so many different things that you're dealing with.
How many sessions, and I know it's going to vary, but can that sort of thing be palliated? Like how many times does that take for that component of the spiritual attachment to kind of start to fade or leave?
It really depends. I know like when I'm working with Lois and her team, we have at least a minimum 3 sessions. Because Lois does the intake, and then we look at people's aura, which is their energy field around them, and can see like what's going on with them. Is their aura like a nice bright color, or is it dark, or are there dark spots? And usually the dark spots would be something that might be attached to them, or some lower vibrational energy. I'm not going to always say that it's negative. It just could be something that just needs to be removed. And then that's when we work with our divine team to come in and not only help remove all of that stuff, but also to backfill, because you can't leave an empty space it creates a vacuum. So you always want to backfill it with either healing light or just pure, clean light. Wow. And then that way, it's after the sessions, then people have more sense of motivation. Their energy is heightened, and they just feel really good. There's like a sense of release and a sense of freedom after the sessions. But
who doesn't want that?
I know.
Well, for more information, if this piques your interest and you want to feel better and more relieved, you can look for Anne on some of the links that'll be here on the screen, and find out some more, whether it's context or it's services. This is an interesting concept. It's certainly something that doesn't sound like it's got risk to it, and something that is definitely a progressive thing, even though it's not, and it's been around a long time. The thought is still something that the general everyday society member is still thinking is new or unexplored. So feel free to explore if you want more information. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, no, thank you.
I love someone to sit here and laugh at my jokes, mostly when I have a babysitter. But I'm sure this isn't the last that we've seen of Anne. Hopefully it's not the last that we've seen of you guys. Until next time, make sure to put your best foot forward. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.